Jason Reed stepped off the shuttle onto the surface of the distant planet with a mixture of awe and caution. The air was breathable, the sky a strange shade of deep violet, and the ground shimmered faintly under his boots, as if the very soil held light within it. He adjusted his visor and scanned the area. The colony he had come from had intercepted signals coming from this planet, signals that seemed almost deliberately sent toward human frequencies. No human had ever set foot here before, and the idea of first contact excited him, though he kept his face neutral. His team followed, their boots crunching on the glittering soil. The planet itself seemed alive. Trees with crystalline leaves swayed without wind, emitting soft hums that resonated in the chest. Streams of liquid shimmered and floated above the ground in midair, reflecting the strange light in refracted patterns. Jason kept his hand near his sidearm, though he hoped it would not be necessary. This world was beautiful, almost impossibly so, but that didn't mean it was safe. They reached a forest clearing where the signals were strongest. Jason knelt to inspect a patch of glowing moss. It seemed to pulse under his touch. "These readings aren't just energy," he said to his team. "It feels alive, like the planet itself is aware we're here." His partner, Lieutenant Mara Chen, nodded but remained cautious. "Stay alert," she said. "We don't know what's out there. We've seen aggressive species before, and this could be a trap." Jason straightened, scanning the horizon. A faint movement caught his eye, and he froze. A figure was emerging from the crystalline forest, moving gracefully and almost gliding above the ground. As it approached, Jason's heart skipped. She was unlike any creature he had seen. Slender, with silver hair that seemed to shimmer like the streams around them, her eyes a deep violet that reflected curiosity, fear, and something else he could not name. The alien girl stopped a few meters away, watching them carefully. She made no sudden movements, but Jason could feel the tension in the air. He raised a hand in a gesture of peace. "I'm Jason," he said slowly. "We mean no harm." The girl tilted her head, studying him. Then, to Jason's surprise, she spoke. Not in alien sounds, but in words he could understand. "You are human." Her voice was soft, almost musical. "Why are you here?" Jason glanced at his team, all equally stunned. "We received signals," he explained. "We came to investigate. I didn't expect you." The girl's eyes widened slightly, but she did not flee. Instead, she took a cautious step closer. "I am Lyra," she said. I was waiting." Jason's curiosity spiked. "Waiting?" he repeated. "For what?" Lyra's gaze shifted toward the forest, then back to him. "For the bond," she said simply. "It is already forming." Jason blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Bond?" Lyra nodded. "It is a connection between beings, a deep connection that cannot be broken. It chooses, not I. It has chosen you." The team exchanged nervous glances. Jason was no stranger to first contact, but this was different. The girl seemed sincere, almost vulnerable, yet there was an intensity to her words that made his skin prickle. Before he could ask more, a sudden ripple of movement came from the forest. Shadows shifted unnaturally, and a low growl echoed through the trees. Lyra's eyes widened in alarm, and she stepped closer to Jason instinctively. Jason raised his sidearm, scanning for danger. A creature lunged from the underbrush, large and serpentine, with scales that reflected the violet light. It moved faster than human reflexes could easily follow. Jason fired, but the shots barely grazed it. The creature lunged again, aiming directly at Lyra. Without thinking, Jason dove, pushing Lyra out of the way. The creature struck the ground where she had been standing, and Jason felt the impact jolt through him. He scrambled to his feet, firing with precision, finally driving it back into the forest. Lyra's eyes were wide, filled with shock and something deeper, gratitude, fear and awe, all at once. She reached out and touched Jason's arm lightly. "You saved me," she whispered. Jason shook his head, trying to catch his breath. "I couldn't let anything happen to you," he said almost instinctively. "No one deserves that." For a long moment, they simply stared at each other. Jason could feel something unusual in the air, a subtle pull he could not explain. It was as if the bond Lyra had spoken of was already forming, a quiet connection he had not noticed but could somehow feel. Over the next few days, Jason and his team explored more of the settlement. Lyra guided them carefully, showing areas of her home world and explaining small bits of her culture. Her people were cautious, secretive, and deeply connected to the planet. They lived in harmony with the floating rivers and crystalline trees, and their technology seemed almost alive, responding to their thoughts and gestures. Despite their differences, Jason and Lyra worked together seamlessly. When Jason needed to repair equipment, Lyra instinctively offered guidance, sometimes through thought, sometimes through subtle gestures. They learned each other's ways quickly. Jason taught her human problem-solving, practical skills, and adaptability, while she revealed the delicate, almost magical ways her people interacted with the world. It was during one of these excursions that danger struck again. A sudden storm erupted, unlike anything Jason had ever seen. Crystalline trees cracked and fell, floating water streams collided with the ground, and powerful winds threatened to throw them off their feet. Jason grabbed Lyra instinctively, shielding her as the storm raged around them. I trust you," Lyra said over the roar of the wind. Jason froze. The words were simple, but the weight behind them was enormous. He realized then that the bond she had mentioned was more than instinct or culture. It was real, deep, and undeniable. He had felt a connection forming, too, subtle yet unbreakable, as if their lives and thoughts had begun to intertwine. When the storm finally subsided, the settlement's elders arrived. Their arrival was formal and tense. They regarded Jason with suspicion, speaking in a melodic language that Lyra translated carefully. "Humans are not to interfere," she said, her voice strained. "They cannot be allowed to form the bond fully." Jason stepped forward. "I didn't come to interfere," he said firmly. "I only want to understand, and I respect Lyra's choice." Lyra's eyes shone. She looked at the elders and then back at Jason. "I refuse to leave," she said quietly but firmly. "The bond has already formed." The elders reacted immediately, shock and disapproval flashing across their faces. They warned of consequences, of rules broken, of dangers to both species. But Lyra stood her ground, and Jason felt an odd sense of pride. He had never been chosen like this before, and yet he understood what it meant: trust, courage, and connection beyond mere survival. That night, Jason and Lyra sat by one of the floating streams, the water glowing faintly under the violet sky. They spoke of their lives, their hopes, and their fears. Jason told her about his human colony, the struggles, the wars, and the moments of peace. Lyra shared stories of her people, of the bond, of the responsibilities that came with it. Through it all, the connection between them deepened. It was quiet, subtle, yet undeniable. Every glance, every gesture, every shared thought strengthened it. Jason realized that this bond was more than cultural. It was something alive, something that could change the way humans and aliens saw each other forever. As he lay in his makeshift camp that night, Jason's thoughts wandered. He had faced death countless times in his life, but never had he felt as alive as he did here, on this strange planet, connected to a being so different yet so familiar. The bond, he realized, was more than instinct. It was choice, trust, and courage all intertwined. By morning, the elders returned, their presence heavier, more formal. They had deliberated and decided that Jason must leave immediately. Lyra, however, refused. She took his hand, her violet eyes locking with his. "I cannot," she said simply. "The bond has already formed. I cannot leave, and I cannot let you go." Jason looked at her, a mixture of awe and determination filling his chest. He knew leaving now would break more than rules. It would break the connection they had begun to form. He also knew that staying could bring danger, not only from the elders, but from forces unknown on this planet. Yet, as he stared at her, he understood that some things were bigger than fear, bigger than rules, bigger than danger. Some things were worth every risk. The first part of their story ended, not with violence or triumph, but with understanding and decision. The bond between Jason and Lyra had begun quietly, irreversibly, and without ceremony. It was a connection of trust, courage, and the inexplicable pull that could bind two lives together against the odds. As the violet dawn broke over the floating streams and crystalline forests, both knew their journey was just beginning, and the choices they would make next could change both their worlds forever. Jason stood beside Lyra as the first rays of violet sunlight glimmered across the floating streams and crystalline forest. The elders had left reluctantly, muttering warnings, but they had not forced him to leave. Lyra's hand still rested lightly in his, a small but powerful gesture that confirmed what they both already knew. The bond had begun, and it could not be undone. The day brought new challenges. Jason knew he could not remain idle while the settlement faced its own dangers. Lyra led him through hidden paths, revealing sections of her world the elders had forbidden outsiders to see. She explained that the energy of the planet itself could be unpredictable. "It responds to our emotions," she said. "When we are calm, it is calm. When we are afraid, it can become violent." Jason nodded, absorbing every detail. He had faced dangerous planets before, but this was different. Here, even the environment seemed alive, aware of every thought and feeling. As they walked, he felt the bond between them deepen, an invisible thread connecting their thoughts and instincts. Every glance they shared was a conversation, every gesture a silent understanding. Their exploration was interrupted by a sudden alarm. A section of the crystalline forest was collapsing. Large shards of crystal tumbled from above, and floating streams threatened to crash into the settlement. Lyra's instincts were immediate. She grabbed Jason's arm and pulled him forward. "We must warn the others," she shouted. They ran through the forest, dodging falling crystals and moving streams. Jason marveled at Lyra's speed and agility. She moved with confidence, seemingly unafraid of the dangers that would have struck a human team down immediately. Yet he followed closely, instinctively adjusting his movements to protect her, feeling the bond guiding him. When they reached the settlement, the elders were already coordinating the defense. Humans and aliens alike worked to stabilize the structures and redirect the floating streams. Jason joined in, using human ingenuity to create temporary supports and barriers. Lyra stayed close, guiding him with her knowledge of the environment, their cooperation seamless. After hours of work, the immediate danger passed. The elders looked at Jason with a mixture of respect and caution. They had never seen a human work so effectively alongside their people, nor had they witnessed the bond between him and Lyra. Some of them began to whisper, questioning their own rules and beliefs. That evening, Jason and Lyra found themselves alone by one of the glowing streams. The events of the day had drawn them closer than ever. Lyra dipped her fingers into the water, watching it ripple. "Humans are different," she said softly. "You do not fear life. You do not always follow rules, and yet you care." Jason smiled faintly. "I guess it's part of being human. We survive because we adapt. We fight because we must. but we protect because we choose to. Lyra looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting the glowing water. It is not just your actions, she said. It is your heart. That is what the bond senses. It knows courage, trust, and care. And it chooses you. Jason felt a surge of emotion. He had never been chosen in this way, never understood what it meant for another being to see him so completely. And yet, he realized that he had chosen her too, without thinking, without question. The bond was mutual, quiet, yet undeniable. Their peace was short-lived. A group of dissenting aliens approached, their expressions severe. They had watched the humans work alongside the settlement and were unsettled by the bond. "Lyra," one of them said sharply, "you must sever this connection immediately. It is against our laws." "You cannot allow a human to interfere." Lyra's hands clenched at her sides. "I will not," she said firmly. "The bond has already formed. I cannot break it, and I will not abandon him." Jason stepped forward, meeting the alien leader's gaze. "I am not here to harm your people," he said calmly. "I came because we received your signals. I stayed because Lyra chose me. That choice is hers, and I respect it." There was a tense silence. The dissenters argued, insisting that the bond was unnatural, dangerous, and forbidden. But Lyra remained unwavering, her determination shining through every word and gesture. Jason felt the bond pulse in response, strengthening, giving him clarity and courage. He realized that whatever challenge lay ahead, they could face it together. The conflict escalated when a massive predator from the forest breached the settlement's perimeter. It was larger and more aggressive than the one Jason had encountered before, its scales reflecting the violet light, its eyes glowing with intelligence. Panic spread among the settlers. Jason acted immediately. He grabbed a nearby energy harpoon and coordinated with Lyra, their bond allowing them to anticipate each other's movements. Lyra guided the younger aliens, instructing them on where to hide and how to use the environment to their advantage. Jason faced the predator directly, his human intuition guiding him to exploit its weaknesses. Together, they managed to drive the predator away, saving lives and proving their teamwork to everyone watching. The dissenters, now humbled, could not ignore the strength of the bond. They saw how Jason and Lyra moved as one, how their connection allowed them to protect the settlement in ways no individual could achieve. After the battle, the elders approached Jason with cautious respect. "We underestimated you," one said, "and the bond, it is beyond our understanding. Perhaps it is not something to fear, but to learn from." Lyra smiled softly, relief evident in her expression. She took Jason's hand again, and this time, no one challenged her choice. The bond had been acknowledged, even if not fully accepted by everyone. In the following days, Jason and Lyra continued to explore the planet, their relationship deepening. They shared stories of their lives, their cultures, and their hopes for the future. Jason taught her about human resilience, strategy, and curiosity. Lyra showed him the delicate, harmonious ways her people interacted with the world, the magic inherent in their connection to the planet. The bond allowed them to anticipate each other's needs and reactions. Jason could sense when Lyra felt danger, and she could feel his thoughts in moments of uncertainty. It was not just communication, it was understanding on a level words could not convey. One afternoon, while traversing a valley of floating crystals, they discovered an ancient structure partially hidden beneath the terrain. It pulsed with energy, responding to their presence. Lyra explained that it was a relic of her ancestors, a place where bonds were formed and celebrated. The structure resonated with them, amplifying the connection they already shared. As they explored, the ground trembled. The planet itself seemed to react to their bond. Crystals glowed brighter, streams shifted in patterns that guided them, and the air hummed with energy. Jason realized that their connection was not only personal, it was affecting the environment around them, demonstrating a harmony that could benefit both humans and aliens. The elders arrived shortly after, having tracked their activity. They were cautious but curious. Jason stepped forward, showing respect while allowing Lyra to speak for herself. "We have discovered something important," she said. "This place. It shows that bonds between species can exist. It does not harm us. It strengthens us." There was silence, followed by a slow nod from one elder. Others murmured among themselves, reconsidering what they had been taught. The bond between Jason and Lyra had become undeniable, a living proof that cooperation, trust, and connection could transcend species and rules. As night fell, Jason and Lyra stood together under the glowing streams. The bond between them pulsed softly, a quiet but powerful reminder of the journey they had begun. Jason felt a sense of peace he had never known. He realized that humans could inspire, protect, and connect in ways even advanced civilizations could not fully understand. Lyra turned to him, her eyes reflecting the violet night sky. "We will face challenges," she said softly. "There will be those who do not understand, who fear the bond. But we have chosen each other. That choice cannot be undone." Jason took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Then we face them together," he said. "Whatever comes, we face it together." The story ended with promise rather than finality. Jason and Lyra had formed a bond that transcended rules, species, and expectations. They had proven that connection, trust, and courage could overcome fear and doubt. And as they looked toward the stars, they knew that their journey was only beginning. Together, bound by something stronger than understanding, stronger than law, and stronger than fear. The alien world around them shimmered in quiet approval. The bond was real, undeniable, and already changing both their lives. And in that moment, both human and alien understood something simple yet profound. When two beings choose each other with trust and courage, the universe itself bends to honor that choice.